Kia ora team, here we are, episode 4 of the Australia-New Zealand Music Podcast. Yes, today I'm here with my friend in Melbourne, Ash Kennedy. How you doing,
I
Ash?
just got nervous for some reason, but I'm sure it's
Yeah.
fine. It's nothing's
live.
changed except this little box at the
live.
top that says recording.
Yeah, it's live, but it's not live. We're airing here in late February 2025. Not sure when this will be out exactly, but in due time. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a debrief about who Ash is. And as I said, she's from Melbourne, and she is a full-time muso, teaching and playing regular gigs and making a living through her music. Ash is widely known for her vocal skills, which has led her to touring opportunities, collaborating on stage and recording in the studio with the likes of Tones and I, Thando, and Genesis Owusu. Am I saying that right?
Pretty close. Tando is she's an artist from Melbourne. She's she's doing huge things. She just put out a new album, I believe it's an album, not an EP.
Cool.
That called Lessons in Love that I just worked on with her in the studio. You'll be able to hear me on there because I'm sticking out. She really wanted my voice on the album in its full glory. But yeah, and Genesis Owusu. Yeah, that was right. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And that's also led to opportunities playing in venues such as the Sydney Opera House and Rod Laver Arena. Ash's debut single received praise and play from Triple J and recently released her first self-produced vocal on Separation Anxiety in October 2024. What was that debut single called again?
Point of View. That's right. Yeah,
that's right. Cool. So that's a little bit about Ash. And Ash, we do like to ask our guests for one silly fact unrelated to music. I'm sure you've got a few up your sleeve, but hit me on the spot.
It's always hard to choose just one. I think silly fact of mine is that I am obsessed with The Sims, and that I spend way too much time building houses and redecorating on The Sims. It's actually close to an addiction, and I'm working on weaning back off it again. But I've been playing it since I was like a kid, since like I first had a computer. And I feel like it's just it's sort of like a guilty pleasure for me. And I don't think a lot of people know that when I'm not replying, it's probably because I'm in another realm, which is Sims 4.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is it Sims 4? Yeah. What did you first play? Did you play the first Sims?
Yeah, I did. Only for a little bit because then Sims 2 came out. And then that's the one that sold it for me.
Upgrades.
Never had Sims 3. That one, I don't know how I missed that. I think I was still playing Sims 2. And then Sims 4 came out, and it's been out for like over 10 years now. So it's like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, they just keep adding more stuff.
They're due an update.
Right. I don't know. We all want an update. I say we as if I'm part of some Sims community.
You're the spokesperson.
But no one knows who I am. I'm just a little human on playing with other humans. They're not humans, are they humans?
Ash Sims. Sure.
Let's go with that.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. Ash Sims Kennedy. Let's go. All right, let's get into this week's news digest. This one is entitled Spotify Quotas, $250 fees, and a 24-hour rage channel. These are solutions Australian musicians say can save the industry. Solve the industry. That'd be a good one. This one's by Hannah Murphy, and it's a little bit older. It was released back in August of 2024, but I think it's worth a bit of a chat. So Hannah Murphy is reporting with Damien Johnson, who is a musician under the artist name Damien. He made a submission to the Federal Parliament's inquiry into Australia's live music scene in early 2024. Now, this article explores solutions to the never-ending financial struggles a musician encounters. Firstly, a minimum $250 fee per gig. Now, Ireland has something similar to this where 2,000 artists are supported by a government grant scheme with a basic income of €325 a week for 3 years. Olivia Halley, musician and academic, said, providing artists in the live sector with a basic income would mean that there is a larger diversity of voices, including artists who are parents, those living with chronic health conditions, mid-career and late-career artists, artists of different abilities and varied economic, educational, and cultural backgrounds, and young people who otherwise would not have the opportunity. The second solution is the old McDonald's versus the local burger shop scenario. Damien has a call for the government to support local music more rather than imported music from global superstars. Cafes, malls, radio, advertising are all places for Aussie artists to get in the ears of Aussies, to create that familiarity. There's even a call to create local music quotas on Spotify algorithms. We are currently culturally colonized by America. It's time to reclaim the airspace for our own artists. And lastly is the Michael Rule. Michael McMartin was renowned for his long tenure as the manager for Australian band Hoodoo Gurus, and his work as a founding member of the Music Managers Forum of Australia. His rule is based on a voluntary agreement with booking agents and the like, that every show from an international artist should feature an Australian artist on the bill. Dr. Morrow, who is an experienced arts and cultural manager, said some promoters had already adopted Michael's rules, although the Association of Artists and Managers, the AAM, had already flagged possibly taking the rule further, stating the AAM note that if there isn't sufficient take-up of the rule by live music promoters, then they will make formal representations to the government to use the visa system to realize the goal of having Australian artists open for international ones instead. Words.
Lots of words.
Whoa. Lots of words. Basically 3 solutions being proposed there. The $250 fee per gig, the more representation in local businesses and the Spotify quota, and then the Michael Rule, which is having an artist on every international artist support slot. So, as a working musician, Ash, what are your primary struggles, and what are your thoughts on some of these solutions?
I think my primary struggle as a musician is, and I think most people would agree with this, is just consistency and security. And I think, although I've been in the industry a long time, like if you look at like obviously the intro that you just gave me, I guess like you might look at that and go, oh, well, you mustn't have the same problem of like maybe worrying financially about where the next money's going to come from when it comes to gigs. So my teaching income greatly helps with that and creates that stability so that I'm able to then have less security from gigs. So I would say that the issue there is that it's really hard to know, where your next dollar's coming from and how long you have to wait to also be paid, because sometimes they take time, and also how much you're going to be paid for that gig, because those gigs are different depending on if it's an original gig or a covers gig. So I think it's interesting because I think whenever I read these articles, they always like use music and musicians as like in my head, that's such a wide spectrum of a bunch of different jobs within that, even as a performer. So I guess Are we talking about original music? Are we talking about covers? Because I also know a lot of people who make so much money off that. So it's right. Well, it's a bit of a tricky one, I guess.
It sounds like, just from that description you've given, that the $250 fee per gig would add some more consistency and regularity to your income scheme, especially like, I don't know how the Ireland government manages to do that.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was thinking when I was reading it is like, how does that actually function? Who is getting that that funding? because then it's also
Yeah.
looking at, like, because I agree, giving everyone opportunity to create that art, like in diverse scenarios and different backgrounds. For example, they mentioned like people with disability and parents and things like that. And at the same time, I think then like how are you supposed to know who qualifies for that?
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you select anyway? Like
Yeah, that's
2,000
like
artists
not that
isn't
many
many.
either, right? That's so when I
No.
was reading that, I was just a bit confused about how that would work logistically and who
Yeah,
are those
that's the thing.
artists? What
That's the thing with all these
what is
ideas,
that?
isn't it? It's like they're such beautiful ideas, but what's the reality of making this happen? And because there's a sacrifice, right? Like, because that money's coming from somewhere, and now it's not going somewhere else, and we don't know how the government uses their money. But
But at the
hey,
same time, like I
it's
think a 250 like staple payment for a gig is reasonable and probably a good start. It's just
yeah,
hard
right.
to sort of have an opinion on exactly what that would look like. But on the surface, it seems
Yeah,
like a good, yeah, that would be nice to have like
yeah,
consistent,
yeah.
regular, and I guess secure income, or like some, I'm trying to think of the word where like, it's definitely coming in. I guess secure is what I'm going to go with, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, secure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost like making a minimum wage for
Yeah.
musicians, for live performing
Yeah.
musicians.
I mean, that would have been probably handy
Yeah.
for me when I was back at uni, like first starting and picking up gigs here and there and not being paid. I think I read in
Yeah.
the article they were talking about it avoids people being paid in exposure, which I think is a really big problem in the
Yeah.
industry. And I think you don't pay a caterer for in exposure. You're not going to say, "Hey, come do my wedding, and I'll put it on social media. Do it for free." They have to buy all the resources. I think we have to do that too. But obviously, it just looks
Yeah.
very different. And a lot of people don't really know what that looks like. So yeah, I think anything that brings up a conversation is good. But yeah, I'm not sure what the solution is there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like Michael's rule, though. I like the idea of having an Australian artist supporting every international global
Definitely.
superstar coming
Yeah.
in. That feels like something that logistically is
I
doable
think,
and
yeah, and I think
enforceable.
on the greater, like if we look at on a social level when it comes to Australian music, I think there is an awareness towards Australian music. However, I don't know if it's pushed by a lot of like mainstream radio. So like Triple J,
Yeah.
obviously, we know that they're always celebrating Australian music. But like when we look at in different genres, like more in like pop or like mainstream sort of music, I think there tends to be less opportunity for those artists to be pushed onto mainstream radio. I think Nova does
Yeah.
it sometimes, but I don't think radio necessarily is the only answer, but I think what I'm thinking
Totally.
about is sort of the awareness of Australians to Australian music and then becoming fans of those artists. Just having that
Yeah.
access and awareness and being pushed by our own community. I think that's something that
Yeah.
we always get excited about international acts, obviously, but I wonder how we can kind of give that excitement back into the more local scene as well. And I think, yeah, the
Yeah.
Aussie Support Act is a really good way to do that. Michael's rule, yeah.
What do you reckon about the quotas on Spotify algorithms? I thought that was quite an interesting idea. I haven't heard anything like that before.
Yeah, again, I feel like when I was reading it, I was still unsure about how that would exactly work. And I think
Yeah.
that is the trouble sometimes when we're like reading articles, is just like it feels like a half-baked idea that's just like here's a solution, guys, like see, we are thinking about it, and then it like the world moves on and nothing actually happens.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I wonder how that actually would play out and how that would work,
Yeah, well, it would almost have to be initiated by Spotify, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Spotify would have to make a play that they're going to make an active effort to support local musics across the globe.
Which
know?
is a whole,
And they do
like
in
a
a
whole,
way.
I guess that then comes down to like a whole business strategy for them as well, like how
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
play out for them. Because like I
totally.
guess Spotify is always going to try and cover their own back and make the most money that they can. It's a business after all, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
problems with Spotify and payment and all of that in general anyway. So
yeah,
I feel like,
of course.
but I
Yeah,
think, yeah, there are like local playlists like that are generated
yeah.
on Spotify as well, which I think is awesome. I wonder if everyone knows that they exist.
Yeah, I don't know if people turn to it for their listening habits, but you've got like is it the local release
I
radar
think so. I don't remember
vibes?
the name of it.
You've definitely got like the
Yeah,
new
New
release
Music
Friday,
Fridays. Yeah.
and that's specific for Australia and New Zealand. But it's not just
I
Australia and
think
New
if you
Zealand
type in like
artists. It's just
Australian artists or like whatever, or local radar or something like that, I think there are a
yeah,
few different playlists.
something radar. Yeah,
I
I'm
think.
feeling that word. Yeah. Yeah. Anywho, I had another question regarding this. Have you seen any changes over the last year, or any developments that have either, since this was written in August, anything that's affected the livelihood of full-time musicians, either positively or negatively, just here in Melbourne, even just for you and anything, your circle of friends? Have you seen any developments?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think
Yeah.
honestly, the
Just
landscape hasn't changed much since I first started. The only thing that's changed is that I've now developed a network that I'm working with artists that are with labels. So therefore, I'm able to get paid for like some of the gigs that I'm doing, maybe
right.
more than what I would have in the past.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that like on a local level that anything has really changed. If anything, I think that for a lot of actually maybe changed for the worse in some scenarios for some of my friends, in the way that I know that there's a big focus on DJs at the moment, and electronic music, which is great. We love all music. However, that does
Yeah.
mean that there's more of a budget for one person than a band.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I've seen bands get pushed out of venues when they had a residency and be replaced by a DJ because they're just bringing in more people. And I think that's a tricky one because like electronic music has its place and deserves to be celebrated, and we want to be there with them. Like I love electronic music. But there also needs to be a space where bands don't feel like they're going to lose their spot because they'd rather, pay someone who can just sort of appease and play music that a lot of people already know. So I think original music then can become kind of pushed to the wayside, or like those opportunities aren't really given out anymore unless it's like a Wednesday night. And even then, the only people going out on a Wednesday night to those gigs are the people who have always been going out on a Wednesday night to those gigs. So I don't know. I think there's something going on there when it comes to the live music scene, when it comes to original
I
music.
also know that. I know that a lot of bars are struggling as well, just still in the repercussions of COVID. So that's sort of left a bit of a economic crisis on hand for all the bars, and
I think it ripples all the way through, right? It's like and that's why I think it's so difficult, is because it seems systematic, and it seems like it's coming all the way through culture, through like our social behaviors, and then also it's impacting the artists, and it's impacting the venues, and it's impacting then like your career as an artist. Like, can you actually sustain it? People are stopping and then going and doing something else. And even music universities, I remember when I was at uni, like they were struggling to get people to even study music because people weren't they were like, you can't make money anymore. So I have problems with that as well. It's like, I don't want to feel disempowered by that mindset of like, you can't make money in this industry, because I do, and I know I can. But I want to make it clear that I'm not only doing original music.
It's teaching, supplementing your ability to explore those opportunities.
So I think we're always trying to work within the system that we have at the time, but it doesn't mean that the system is necessarily set up to work with us the way we would like it to. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why we are exploring solutions, and so we thank Hannah Murphy. I think that was on the ABC. So if you wanted to read that full article, Spotify quotas, $250 fees, and a 24-hour Rage channel. Cool. So that's going to bring us to the end of part 1. We are going to have a quick listen to a song. The song of the week is from Melbourne-based artist ANUJA. He is originally from Sri Lanka, and we're going to listen to his song, When I Wake. Go have a listen to the full song if you want that full hit. We'll be back shortly.
Build a towering wall round the things that we call life. Close the hand that we bought, shut the chest of our thoughts tight. I'm paddling forward, but I'm floating here, holding closer what I should leave. Come pull me over, I wanna hold you. It's getting warmer, just thinking about you. Take me and keep me close. 'Cause when I wake, we're apart again. I'm running nearer, closing in on you. I can see clear as day, but still far away. I can't take it no more. 'Cause when I wake, I still ache. I still ache.
When I Wake from ANUJA. Beautiful. Very nice, very nice. Ash, what grabbed you immediately when you first listened to this track?
I mean that little pattern. Is it a guitar or I think then the synth picks it up later or the keys. I love that pattern. It sort of gave me like Ben Howard kind of vibes, like that picking sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the vocal was really nice and present, and I think he has a really nice vocal tone. So yeah, I really liked that initial opening. I think it felt very like serene.
Yeah, he's got a very, very soft presence in his voice, isn't it? It's very softly spoken, like calming.
Yeah, really gentle. Nice pronunciation. Like I feel like it felt like you just kind of like it didn't feel jarring. It all felt very smooth.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
I did
and
like
nice
the build.
backing vocals too.
Yes, the atmospheric vocals were great. I liked in the second chorus how it introduced the shaker. I felt like that just gave it...
I thought so too. I was like really like enjoying the shaker. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the backing vocals sort of announced themselves a bit more as the song went on too.
Yeah.
I almost got like a there's some Ed Sheeran-esque vibes in there.
I thought that too. Yeah.
And I almost felt like Ed Sheeran met an artist called Asgeir. Do you know an artist called Asgeir?
No.
He's a great artist. You should check him out. I think he's from like Iceland or something like that. But
yeah,
very, very soft voice, very soft, similar vocal tone, I thought. Yeah.
I feel like it started Ben Howard, got Ed Sheeran-y, and then towards the end I was getting like Taylor Swift vibes with the like full band, like with the bridge and then that like kind of bigger chorus towards the end. Which is funny because this artist probably doesn't want to be associated with Taylor Swift. I think, however, some of her new folklore and like her later albums they're a little more like atmospheric. And I think that's sort of what I'm referencing there. So just by the way.
I can get on board with that from the trajectory of the song. I think Taylor's songs often will end with a nice big sort of full climax. It's not necessarily jarring climax, but it's just introducing more elements that give it more
build.
Yeah. And I think this song had that sort of almost subtle build. You don't even know it's happening until you really stop to pay attention to it. It's just giving it some momentum.
Totally.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about that song?
No, I think I was listening to the lyrics, but then I think when you're listening to a song, and you're enjoying like lots of different parts of the song, I don't know if you find this with your musical brain or not, but I feel like it takes a few a few listens for a song to sink in. And I really love a first impression because sometimes it feels so different after you know the song really well. But I feel like I was listening to the lyrics in the first half, and then when things started building, I was listening to all the other things in the music. So then I feel like I lost the my connection with the lyric again.
Yeah. That happens for me at the start.
But yeah, I don't know about you if that happens. But yeah, I'm just like
all the
listening to
time.
all these other things. I'm like, oh, and I hear the shaker and I hear the
Yeah. No, there's way too much going on. I suck at listening to lyrics full stop. Even when I know the song, I get lost in the groove, or I hear some little atmospheric element that I hadn't heard before, and I tap into that just to see what's going on there. And then, like, you know, if you miss a paragraph, or even if you miss 2 lines, it's like, I don't know where we are in the lyric now. So
I know.
I don't care. I'm in the music now.
I actually have a theory that there's like 2 different types of listeners, and some are the lyric listeners and the others are the like musical listeners, or the like they're listening to the prod or the melody or the, you know, the other stuff going on in the song. I reckon it takes me like 2 or 3 listens to actually hear the lyrics properly, because I'm just listening to the melody. So for me, it's like the melody first, and then like then all the instruments and the performance of it, and then I go to lyric. It's really funny. I've been trying to practice listening to lyrics more.
Me too.
Like from the start, because I feel like that's where I go wrong at a show. Like I should be listening to the lyrics so I can connect with the artist, but I'm like listening to all the other stuff.
But it's all part of the same produce,
I know.
right? I feel like there's feelers. I distinguish it as feelers and listeners. And I feel like listeners, you could branch off into those 2 categories. Some people's ears are drawn to the lyrics. I have lots of friends who's people who are drawn to the lyrics, but they're not musically trained normally. So
yes, I found that too. I wonder if that's why I think music seems like magic to those people. Because they really feel it, and they're hearing it, and they're just connecting immediately, and they're not, all that other stuff is just there. And then when you point it out to them, they're like, oh wow, I really love that too. But like that, I wish I could turn that off sometimes and just kind of like, I think that's what I meant about like trying to be with the lyric at a show.
Yeah.
That's something that I want to do more of.
I think it's the same for any sort of discipline. I think movie fanatics are the same. I think they're thinking about camera angles, lighting, framing, all these things. So it's just part of the discipline.
Part of the thing.
Yeah. Speaking of song feedback, you can tap into that if you head over to GYMjot.com.au. That is a free service that we offer to provide you with a page worth of notes about your songs. Or you can upgrade the service to get an in-depth full analysis of that songs. That's a 12-listen analysis. And who knows, your submission might end up featuring right here on this very podcast. And feedback is one of the most important artist development tools you have. In fact, artist development is where GYMjot thrives. With our tried and tested development course, you can unlock your inner artist and find your musical direction, all within the context of your situation. Starting at just $30, you can empower your creative being today. So zoom over to GYMjot.com.au to see those deals in more detail. And that brings us to our artist development chit-chat. Ash, I like to ask our guests, what is the first point that you can recall that really was like a aha moment for your artistry, for your creativity, or for your even industry perspective? What was a point of artist development that you encountered?
Oh my gosh. Again, I'm like, there's so many.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone through phases of my journey. Like I'm turning 30 soon, and I feel like there's just a whole lifetime worth of those moments. Let me try and think of, like, should I go, I guess, do we want to go like
most recent? First one.
Most recent. most recent aha moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yesterday,
Go.
I realized that all I've ever wanted to do is sing backing vocals. And it is my favorite thing in the whole world. And I've been experiencing resistance towards my own solo project for maybe five years.
Right.
But and I went and did a coaching course, and I learned all about creativity and mindset, and that was amazing. And then I went and did a bunch of therapy because I was super anxious and really I really lost my identity through COVID and was like, who am I if I'm not performing? Feel like I was disconnected from my artistry. And what I found is that I was putting way too much pressure on it and expecting it to look like, I guess, what I thought people expect an artist to be, which is you need to be an artist and then fully back that artistry, and maybe you need to it's sort of like commit 100% or don't do it kind of thing. It's like an all or nothing mindset. And what I realized is that I've actually never really wanted to be a solo artist. Then I can relate this back to an aha moment I had when I was a teenager, which was that the first time I realized I really wanted to do music completely was when I was 16 and I stood on stage with a band.
Yeah, right.
And that was it for me. I was I just want to be with a band.
Were you doing backing vocals for that, or
both.
were you doing? Yeah, right.
And the whole time I was singing backing vocals, I'm just in flow state, just having the best time, no nerves, just complete authenticity, and I know that I felt good, I even feel it in my body, And then as soon as it's my turn to be the solo artist, the thinking, oh, I'm gonna get this right, and blah 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 blah, and I've just realized that it's because I think in my head, to be a successful artist and singer, I had to be the one in the middle. But actually, I don't know if I've ever really thrived there. Yeah, and right. I think it's not because I don't believe in myself, because I do believe in myself. Yeah. But I just really love being. I've always said I want to be I wish I was a guitarist, because then I can just be in the band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to be a part of other people's projects. I get the most energy when I'm on the side there and I'm looking over at the lead artist and they're looking back at me and they're like, I'm so glad I've got you.
Yeah.
You know, because when we feel that connection, it's sort of don't worry, I got your back. I want to be that for people, and that's where I feel the most confident and excited. So so that's a big aha moment I had only in the last week, which was just that I think my idea of success and my idea that it was a problem that I didn't want to be a solo artist, and at the same time I can still create music and release it. It doesn't mean that I don't want to do that, but I just wasn't feeling driven to it, to actually perform it and push it and create socials and do all that. I actually couldn't care less, which is a wild thing to say, because I feel like if you had asked me a year ago, I would have felt really upset about that.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so that's
it sounds like you've got in touch with an authentic part of your creative being, and I think through that association with your authentic creative being, I reckon your creative projects are going to benefit from it.
I know,
just by
funny,
default.
isn't it?
Yeah. And you might find that, you find some new life in solo projects. Not saying that you have to do that, because I think it's awesome and empowering to be able to say backing vocals and just to acknowledge that you feed off other people's energy and supporting other people's performances too. What's wrong with that? What we shouldn't be afraid to say that. I think it's
a thing that it's it's okay if you're a guitarist or a drummer or an instrumentalist and you're oh, I want to be in a band, but I don't want to be the front man. And that's okay as an instrumentalist. But as a vocalist, for some reason, it's oh, but surely you have a deep desire to be the one in the middle. And it's well, actually, I don't think I ever really have.
Yeah,
I don't feel an urge to do that. I actually feel I don't want that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, but in saying that, I love singing and I love creating my own music because it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still expressive, right? So
totally, that can just be a therapeutic part of your being, even at the very minimum.
I think it actually is performance. I think it has to do with
Right.
performance for me. Maybe that's the line that I draw there.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I will
continue.
say with guitar, there is a little bit of that in that you have lead guitar and rhythm guitar. And I think there is a little bit of like that idea of that most guitarists want to be the lead guitarist, because there is that little spotlight moment to do your little solo and stuff. But I would definitely be the same. I would much rather be a rhythm guitarist. And I think more guitarists would be willing to express that and get in touch with that than expressing that they want to be a backing vocalist as opposed to the lead vocalist. But there is that, and there's probably other aspects of other instruments that I'm not sure of too, like being first violin in an orchestra next to like the I don't know, I don't really know too much about the orchestra.
No, I think at the same time, I agree. I think like there's always we always want a moment to shine. I don't think that that's something that goes away. Like if there's an artist who's like, I want my BVs to have a little moment, like great, like that's fun. I just don't want to be the moment, the whole song, the whole set. I just want to pop out and be like, hey, for a bit, and then like, let's go back to focusing on you. I actually just really feel relaxed in that space, in the middle, I guess. And I guess when you think of an orchestra, if we use that as an example, there probably are like a first violin who maybe does a solo or a part that sticks out a little more than the other parts. But in the end, they're all part of an orchestra. And I find that there does feel like sometimes when you're just a singer but not playing an instrument as part of a band, there feels like a separation sometimes between the vocalist, and it's like there's the lead singer, they're the artist, and then this is the band.
Yeah.
And that's been created for a reason in some scenarios, and in other scenarios, I think all I ever wanted was to just be in the band.
Yeah.
So
I also think comparing the vocal to an instrument, there's already a different level of vulnerability to be expressed through voice. I don't know what it is exactly, but we give a lot of people are scared to sing. You know,
so
people
scared.
Are really scared to sing, which sucks because like sing-alongs are great. It doesn't mean you have to be a great singer, but yeah, we're very, very scared to express ourselves through singing. Whereas I think people would be more inclined if a piano was there. They'll just hit a couple of keys, you know? They'll hit a couple of random keys and just, even if they don't know what they're doing, they'll make noise. Yeah, totally. They will shy away from it. So I think that's really cool.
Have you had any big aha moments recently?
For my creative self. Well, one sort of ongoing conversation of development I'm having with myself is that I've never, since I was probably 20, I haven't wanted to be an artist, you know, like I haven't wanted to, exactly what you're describing. Like I made the switch that I'm writing music, creating music, jamming, anything. I don't even really want to perform, really. Like I know I'll perform because it's good for me to learn my songs. It makes me learn my songs again. Otherwise I just forget them. But then there's always that nudging voice that's like, I guess it's something that you're alluding to as well. That nudging voice is like, you can do it sort of thing, you know, like you could be an artist. But then I'm also, it's not that I'm resisting it. I just feel like that's part of every musician's conversational talking table. There's always that voice of like, you should be there, you know, or you could do that sort of thing. It's like, yeah, but I actually don't want to. When it comes to reality, when it comes to the practicalities, the logistics of it all,
And I think that was hard for me to accept, I think, was that I felt that way, because I think that I, in my head, had made that mean that I wasn't a real artist, or that it meant that my art wasn't I don't know, like important. And I think that now I'm like, oh no, it is important.
Yeah.
And I don't really care about performing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
That's fine. And I'm really keen to record it and put it out.
Yeah.
It's like,
I still think there's extreme value in sharing your music. And once again, just from like the development of my creative being, I feel like I can't let go of a song and fully move on from it until I've released it, and now I can't tweak it. You know, now it's done. Like I literally, the songs that I've only released 3 songs, but each one, it's the same. It keeps giving me that. It's like, I'll be playing that song so much and like working on it until I've recorded it and then I've released it. And then I just don't even want to play it. It's like, I don't even want to just jam it. You know?
just want to move on from it, do something new.
Just done. It's behind creative beings. It's satisfied. It's liberated from that song, you know? And that song's liberated from me. So it can go live its own life. You know?
And I think
hiding in a dark corner on Spotify.
I think going through that process of realizing what you really want as an artist, as a performer, as whoever you identify as a musician, whether that's a guitarist or a vocalist or a this or that or a songwriter or a producer, I think really in the end you just have to be okay with what you decide is right for you. And I think what's hard about that is just trying to go through all those messy phases where you're like trying things and you try that and then accepting how you're feeling throughout that process, but also understanding that sometimes things don't feel good and it might be part of the process, and like whether you decide that that's worth it or not is up to you. Whereas for me, like I love the recording process, that's all G, but I don't really care about doing a live gig of my songs that much anymore. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But for someone else, they might love doing the live stuff, and recording for them is a drainer, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think what's worth it today is not necessarily the same thing that's worth it tomorrow. It's such a dynamic conversation. Like, it's something that you can't just answer once and then just rest in that. It's something that you sort of have to keep coming back to and tuning into, like, wait, where am I with my artistic being? Like, what am I?
It'll evolve for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, where am I with my... That's a really cool question. I think I'm going to steal that and use that. Maybe I should put it as a calendar pop-up every month. Where am I with my artistic being? Because I think that is a good question. And I think right now I feel really sure about how I feel right now. And then in like, I don't know, a year's time, I might change and might decide that I really want to perform more of my music again.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that how I feel right now isn't right or an aha moment. It still is. It's my today aha moment.
It's part of the journey. Part of the journey.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we can about pull this to a close, Ash.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere you want to direct people? Speaking of solo projects.
Oh, yeah. If you want to hear some of my songs on Spotify, my name is Ash Kennedy. And follow me on Instagram, ashkennedy.music, and we can hang out and chat there. And I'll be posting some more BV stuff because I just want to post some harmony things.
Great.
And talk more about how lucky I am to be able to be a backing vocalist and tour and do all these cool things and support other people's art. Yeah. Great. And also make my own art. And maybe I could sing BVs for you.
Be an artist. Mwahaha.
Be an artist. Do it. It's so fun.
Awesome. All right, team. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 4.
Thanks for having me.
Australia, New Zealand Music Podcast. Ciao.